just one day ahead of the beta, we are finally getting some news into what's actually changed for the latest alpha lab. So let's take a look at some of these patch notes and break this down. We already know about the 2 new characters that are joining, Blitzcrank and Vi. Both look extremely cool, and that will round out the cast of 9 characters. We do expect to see a 10th character at some point, since we know that there will be 10 on launch, but we don't know when that will be. There's really not much difference from what I can see on Champion Mastery. It's very similar to what we had in Alpha Lab 2. You can unlock cosmetics, stickers, player cards, things like that. One thing that is important to note is that Champion Mastery progress resets when closed beta ends. That's a surprise to me. I definitely thought progress would carry over from the beta into the game once it launches, but it looks like they are going with a hard reset. Match replays are also going to be available in the closed beta. Kind of incredible given how long it took League of Legends to get match replays, but that's pretty great news. They have some specific tutorials around the fuses, but the fuses are exactly the same as they were in Alpha Lab 2, so I'm not going to go over those at all. Offline mode, this is a big one. So this is absolutely needed because they're going to start running tournaments for 2xKO. We also get our first look at the champion select screen here with Blitzcrank included. But yeah, this is awesome. Offline mode, you can play sets with your friends now. You don't actually have to rely on online only. And again, absolutely required because they're going to have tournaments coming up very shortly. The only thing I would mention with cosmetics is that they very clearly state that there's nothing you can buy with real money, which was pretty surprising. I thought they would try to monetize this closed beta, but if anything, that could be a good sign because it could mean that they're not planning on running this very long. They definitely want to start making money with this game, and so they want to start getting those kind of premium skins, premium cosmetics out there as soon as possible. We saw a lot of this in the Evo build, but they clearly addressed the defensive issue in the core gameplay that they introduced with Alpha Lab 2. So they intend for match pacing to be faster. You start with a super meter now. They made changes so that there's not going to be breaking all the time right at the beginning of the match. It looks like they've changed some of the defensive options. They said they took a look at wake up rolls, push assist, retreating guard, and dashing, so that's good. We already know that back dashing is a little bit weaker now, and also comeback potential. So it looks like Fury Break is like full on X Factor now. Like some of the combos that they showed in the dev showcase with Fury Break were really cool. You get a Fury Break mid combo to extend. They clearly want that comeback potential to be there, which was a big problem with Alpha Lab 2 because if you got behind, you basically just lost once the timer ran out. They go in depth into some of these changes a little bit more as well. Super meter resetting in between rounds is kind of interesting to me. I don't love it. I'm gonna need to see how it feels. I am somebody who likes when super meter carries over in between rounds because I feel like it gives a lot more strategy in terms of like, do I dump my meter here or do I try to kill them without using any meter so I can have it for the next round? If I'm behind, do I want to dump my meter knowing that I might not have a chance of winning? You kind of get into the situation like with Guilty Gear where you have like, do I do a hero break here? I think there's more strategy that can be put around it, but I understand that they did it in order to kind of like push along the pace of the game. Break meter now starts at 75% instead of 100%. Break bonus increases when getting hit by long combos, so that's interesting. So if you're getting comboed a lot and with long combos, then your break will come back faster. Break meter bonus no longer increases during handshake tag or cinematics. Kind of thought that should have been that way to begin with. And on champion KO, no longer receive 50% bonus break meter. So this is a huge one too, because previously in the second Alpha Lab, there was like 4 breaks per game because when somebody died, it was like you immediately got your break meter back and it was just kind of a nightmare. I'm not going to go into all these changes one by one. If you want to read them, they're on the screen, but backdashing, a lot of that stuff is a lot weaker. Basically, defense was way too strong in Alpha Lab 2, and now they're taking a look at it, as they should, so that's great. There was also the problem in Alpha Lab 2 where gray health came back way too fast. They already posted a video on they nerfed the gray health regeneration rate, which is great, and there's a bunch of other changes in here as well. Some of the most important ones here, like throw having a counter hit state on whiff, that's pretty cool. So that means that shimmies will actually kind of be a viable option now. Forward and air throws causing hard knockdown is huge as well. This is going to be one of the biggest Oki tools. Previously, it almost like wasn't even worth it to throw somebody. You don't really get anything from it. In fact, in some cases, depending on where they ended up, it was like they could be plus after a throw. But now having hard knockdown after a throw is a pretty big deal. Limit strength no longer causes hard knockdown. That's big too, because in the Alpha Lab 2, it was almost just like, how can you make a combo that does the most damage while getting into limit strike so then you can have a hard knockdown? And it was pretty stale. I think it was a lot more boring of a gameplay mechanic than what they had previously. Chain dashing is easier, so they touched on this. So previously plink dashing was, I think, a little bit like mechanically intensive. Like I wasn't very good at it, and now you don't really need to plink dash. You can kind of just mash forward, or back. Some people don't like that change. I guess I personally do kind of like it because, like I said, I'm not very good at plink dashing, but it is what it is. Timing restriction on double down has been removed. I like that. I mean, that seems like it's just going to be way more fun for combos now. Juggernaut Fuse has been buffed. I would love to see a champion that makes use of Juggernaut Fuse. I have no idea how that's going to work. It feels like you're giving up so much, but it would be really cool to see Juggernaut Fuse be strong. So I'm in favor of buffing it tentatively, I guess, so that it doesn't become like this weird broken mechanic. But yeah, I want to see more interesting creative Fuse stuff. And then they've just got some quality of life changes here. I think some of the ones to point out, you can enter training mode directly from the lobby. That's obviously huge. People were asking for that. When queue times are long, matchmaking will look into other lobbies. Again, something people were really asking for. Cross lobby matchmaking is, I think, just needed. I understand why they want to use the lobby system. It's a really cool lobby system, but if you can only find people in your lobby, that's unfortunate. Okay, so going over the champion specific changes, I'm really just going to talk about Braum and Darius. Those are the only two champions I spend any time with. I do want to quickly point out that one of the big losers here from the Evo patch is Vi. She got nerfed in pretty much like every single change here. That's kind of a bummer for me because I wanted to play Vi because I thought she looked crazy strong, but this will probably normalize her a little bit more. Obviously, they needed to take a look at her damage, and then some of her actual like footwork in the combos were just way too strong in neutral. So Vi got significantly nerfed. Now let's look at Braum. I'm happy to see that they thought Braum was in a pretty good spot because I actually thought he was pretty strong in Alpha Lab 2, but that could be more as a result of like the gameplay changes that they made. He's a big body, and the fact that mix-up was not very strong meant that he benefited a lot from that because that was his biggest weakness. Health has been slightly reduced. That's pretty deserved, I think. He had a crazy high health pool. Medium attack and down medium attack recovery have been reduced. I like this. The medium attack was the door swing. That was very whiff punishable. That was a little bit hard to use in neutral, and the down medium to kind of the door poke, they weren't that great. They were obviously very good in combos, and they were very good if you were close enough to them and you could, you know, buy some more plus frames with an assist or something like that, but it was a little bit risky to use. So I kind of like that the recovery is nerfed. I kind of like that the recovery is changed on that. Concussive blow startup has been reduced, and then the startup has been significantly increased for his command grab. So this will be interesting. I'm just gonna have to feel out the changes on this one. They were talking about how his command grab was a good reversal. I never really saw it used that way, but you know, I only got a couple of days just like everybody else with the last Alpha Lab, so it's a little bit hard to say. And unbreakable version now causes crumple, which is pretty cool because again, the combos were extremely limited on the second Alpha Lab command grab. You couldn't even get really a combo off of the non-unbreakable version, and the unbreakable version you couldn't get much off of it. So that's good to see. I like the combo off of the command grab. I don't mind if it's not a good reversal tool. I'd never used it that way anyways. So that's great. And Darius. I gave Darius a projectile. This is an interesting choice. I don't necessarily think he needed one. This does sort of firmly put him away from big body in my mind. That was kind of an interesting topic of conversation online. Cut down, which is his sweep, has a new animation that's harder to read, although it's not actually faster. Again, I'm gonna have to see what that feels like. I have no idea. Cut down is now cancelable into supers. That's pretty cool. It's gonna be hit confirmable now, which is awesome. Grievous wheel, which was his DP, has been moved to down forward S2, and that's actually very big. They talk about it here, but you can no longer mash down back, so you have to commit to moving forward while you're doing this. So that's pretty big. Has a shockwave projectile. I don't know exactly what that's gonna look like. I guess it just uses the DP, just launches a projectile now. This last change is so pointless, but I absolutely love it. When playing on the Noxus stage, additional soldier NPCs will spawn in the background. I hope they do this with every character. I looked at a couple of these and I didn't see anything like that. I didn't see any stage specific changes. Maybe because they don't have as many specific stages, but like obviously Vi and Jinx will have like the Echo and Zon changes, but that is awesome. I love it when they have like specific, just you really have to be paying attention kind of details with the stages. Anyways, that's about it for these changes. If you want to look at them yourselves, I'll put the link in the description. I will be playing 2XKO just like everybody else when it launches tomorrow, so come check that out.